where we will be covering 100 films. Wow, I really mess this up every time.
It was 100 films.
Great.
We got that. So it was movie overload. We got the 100 films. Which
movies?
What
I
more
say the
do
same
we
thing
need?
every time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess all there is left to say at the intro at the start
Do
is
you want me to
fuck Woody
start
Allen.
over? Oh, this is true.
Yeah.
You're almost done.
I mean, we already did it.
Okay, well, that's the intro.
Hooray.
All right.
We are banking them,
My
or we are not
confidence is-
banking them.
This is the last bank.
So,
today.
once you get to that third one, it's like, what even?
With the
Pod.
wildest,
This is the
perhaps
easiest
hardest
part of my
to talk
job is
about
the
movies.
intro, and I still forget. I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, yeah.
Well, there's movies and overload.
A trip to the moon, to Parasite, and everything in between, and avoiding Woody Allen at all costs.
What a weird guy.
Screw that guy.
Not a fun time.
Blech.
No.
Yep.
Anyway,
Cool. Well, hi. My name is Reese.
You are?
Yeah, I am. Which one are
Oh.
you today?
I think I'm Hunter.
you
I think
are.
I was Hunter last time.
All right,
I still am.
let's just go with Hunter.
I got to
And-
repeat.
Okay, so I'm Reese. I'll be Reese. You'll be
Okay,
Hunter, and
yeah.
then
I'll be Hananana.
Whoa.
okay, that works.
Hannah for
Cool.
short.
Okay,
Nice.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's easy.
me keeps it simple.
Yes.
So, what pod? What episode
I'm talking
is
about
this?
my favorite podcast. The podcast. Felt too insecure to say any specific
The pause.
podcast. Talking about a movie.
We're talking about movies
Which is
today.
weird for us, but we're doing it.
We're just gonna try something out. See, maybe if talking about movies is gonna maybe get us a bit more
Shout us
traction.
out in the comments
Yeah.
if that's a good thing to talk about.
Yeah.
If you like movies.
Should try it sometime.
For our selection today, which was really just this week because we did other things today. I'm just stumbling through this.
You got this.
We watched Duck Soup just now.
Woo woo.
Hooray!
Duck
It's a-
soup.
Who
It's
directed
a-
Duck Soup?
Leo McCarey,
Yeah.
who did movies that I don't know around that same period around 1933, which was when this came out,
Same.
starring 4 Marx Brothers.
All four.
All 4.
Holy heck.
One of
I
them
really
was,
didn't know what the fourth one was.
he
'cause
wasn't hardly in there. I had to look to confirm which one he was. He did not have a big role.
Was he the guy that was just dancing with
Yeah,
4 of
in
them?
those final shots during the big music in the last bit, there was a 4th guy, and that was him.
Okay.
Zeppo.
So like the attractive one's the boring one that we can ignore.
Right.
Because he's not
Yeah,
funny.
like I saw this like weird stuff about him, and like he left the group after this. Basically, like he was kind of acting with them before, and he didn't keep doing that after this because he was tired of kind of being written down and the butt of jokes, and it
Right.
wasn't good. He kind of got shafted. So
Rough.
yeah, it was sad.
But I mean, at the same time, he wasn't that. He did not stand out.
I don't know.
But I guess that
he tended to. I guess he was usually like the straight man ish
right.
in these kinds of things. But
That would have
apparently
made
he
more
was really
sense to
funny.
make him the like ambassador dude then.
Right. I don't know.
Weird.
I don't
Well,
know.
It's good times.
Anyway.
I guess we can't really debate the casting choices. What's done is done.
Yep.
At this point,
It's pretty out.
it was pretty much
there. It's
done.
80 years old.
Almost 90 years ago. So
Yep.
That's crazy.
rough.
What's Duck Soup about?
Why is it
It's-
called duck soup?
I don't know.
There's
Uh,
ducks at the beginning.
They went through a lot of titles on this, and I think they probably just went with something with ducks because they had named their other movies with animal stuff.
Gotcha.
There was like horse feathers and animal crackers and stuff.
Animal
I
crackers.
think I've
in
seen
my duck
Animal
soup.
Crackers actually. I
Yeah.
can't
That
really
sounds
remember.
they're
really
all, they're all just
familiar,
kind of
actually.
animal. They have a series of like animal related titles, but this one was like firecrackers, and then it was cracked ice, and then it was grasshoppers, and then it was duck soup.
Duck Soup.
There
Weird.
doesn't seem to be any.
I mean, I
specific
guess
rhyme
that
or reason to
fits.
it.
I guess maybe that's where Monty Python got their thing because they had a lot of weird names for stuff. Like one
Yeah,
time
true.
they wanted to call their sketch comedy group Parrot Sketch Not Included.
Mm.
Yes.
There was one
That's
that was, what was it called? Like Owl Folding Time or something like that.
I think that was the thing.
So that they always went through a bunch of things, and then eventually they ended up with Monty Python's Flying Circus. But they weren't actually trying to call themselves Monty Python. That just was a random name. The show name was just Monty Python's Flying Circus. But then that ended up becoming their brand of being
Right.
Monty Python.
Yeah, that bit's easier to carry into other things.
Yeah.
that are not.
So maybe they were just trying to riff off the Marx Brothers because I mean, heck, their comedic style is definitely a big riff.
Definitely influential.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a good.
It's interesting. It was funny.
It was, very
It
entertaining.
was wild.
There were some really solid bits that had us
Some things
rolling.
that happened. Yeah.
And shocked.
Yeah.
and some bits that were like, oh,
We're gonna talk about those because they're
Uh-huh.
actually kind of significant for why this movie matters
interesting.
in a way.
Hmm.
I don't know. Do we want to talk about? Well, I took a few notes on where they came from. the Marx
Yeah,
Brothers,
that'd be
what they
good.
were doing before.
Mhm.
Much like the previous movie that I covered, The General.
Right.
Check it out. These the Marx Brothers were also like vaudeville and like Broadway stage actors
Gotcha.
doing
You
comedy
can
routines
tell.
and stuff.
You can,
Yeah,
you can
totally. Like a
totally
lot of
tell.
stuff that's in this would totally work.
Yeah, it's
on
like
stage.
watching a play.
And I guess like a couple of their first features were like adaptations of like stage plays that they had done. I think original plays. So then they were kind of doing this stuff. I think I saw like their first work in film was like they had this 5-film contract deal with Paramount, and Duck Soup was the final movie in that contract. And
Gotcha.
but they had been kind like their relations between them had been kind of rough before. Like Paramount was doing weird things and like restructuring, and but was also like not making very much money. Like they were near bankrupt, I think.
Dang.
When like the last Marx Brothers movie had been like done really well. The one before this one had like, I think it was Horse Feathers. Like it did really good. And they were like, okay, we'll just make another one really quickly. And then they made Duck Soup and it was like not that great. This is another in the long running series of movies we have where like people didn't really like it at the time it came out. And it was, I saw they noted it was a disappointment to the studio, but not necessarily a failure, like a flop in the box
Gotcha.
office. Like it was still
Why?
like the 6th highest grossing movie that year, but like they just didn't make as much money as they wanted it to make. It didn't make all the money, so it was a problem.
Gotcha.
So is that
and then
why
they-
it's disappointing, or were they disappointed with like the content part
I think
of
they
it?
were disappointed just with the financial return.
Yeah.
And then they ended up parting ways just because of all the stress of making this, and it was so weird, and
Big
Right.
sad.
so they got out of there after this.
Hmm.
But anyway,
But this
It's
one
a
seems to be the one that's like most
Right.
well known
yeah,
now.
so it aged really well, and like even just kind of similar to The General and all these other things, like even just a few decades later, people were looking back on this and being like, no, that was probably their best one.
Right.
Like this seems to be kind of considered the peak of their career, or at least the films that they did.
It was pretty great.
It's pretty wild. There's a lot going on here. It's a pretty tight 70 minutes.
Not even.
Yeah,
I think it's like
Yeah.
63 or
something
something
like that.
ridiculous.
It's pretty close. Yeah,
Pretty
somewhere in
good.
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
The humor kind of reminded me of old Disney cartoons,
Mhm.
like even
Yeah.
Alice in Wonderland type humor, like the Tweedledum Tweedledee dynamic
Mhm.
between the two
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
very
I see that.
guys.
Mhm.
Like totally reminded me
wacky and
of that.
kind of absurd, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the
There are
ridiculous.
different types of comedy.
Definitely rang to me of like the Looney Tunes show all the way up through like Pink Panther and Ant and the Aardvark. I don't know if you guys
Mhm.
ever watched that one growing
I
up,
think
but
so.
there was almost specific gags in this that I was like, I'm pretty sure I've seen that gag like 3 times in the
Mhm.
Ant and the Aardvark.
Right. Yeah, some of these definitely were carried on. Like the notable one is like the mirror joke,
Yeah.
where they're like
Seen that before.
reflecting each other. Like
Mhm.
that was around in a way before this, I guess, like in some short films and probably on stage too. And then of course existed after. Like it's been riffed on many
Yeah.
times. It's a classic.
Bugs Bunny feels like a riff off of Groucho in some
Maybe,
ways.
yeah.
I can
Like
see
some,
that.
He
some
kinda
elements
pokes
of his
people.
speech in particular.
Yeah.
You
Totally.
give him a carrot instead of a cigar.
Right,
I
yeah.
don't know. And obviously,
It is.
everybody has those like Groucho glasses,
Right.
the eyebrows and the mustache.
Boy, he's got a mustache.
Yeah, I mean,
That looks
big
like a piece of
rectangle
duct tape on
mustache.
if
his
it were
mouth.
real,
Right. Yeah, no, but like it's just so exaggerated.
it's so great.
It's awesome.
And I like he immediately jumps into the film and just starts just being the worst person to literally everybody.
Yeah.
And the joke is like, haha, look at a really, really uncomfortably awkward, not nice person is in charge of the entire country.
Mhm. That was-
Isn't
that
that,
was the joke.
funny, guy?
It was supposed to be funny. Like they weren't
Uh-huh.
trying to say anything. I think.
Right.
I think it was just funny.
It was
it's just
funny.
weird because
Yep.
like basically post 2016 it kind of has a new meaning
Rings
of
true a
like
little bit.
I mean man, it is funny.
Yeah.
But it's almost funnier that seemed ridiculous at the time.
Right. It definitely aged in an interesting way with like the way it's viewed politically, because it sounds like at the time it was like one of the reasons it was kind of looked down on a little bit was because it was so satirical of like politics and war. Like, you know, World War I wasn't that long before this, so
Right.
like coming off of that,
Like
being,
with the trench
people were
bit.
probably exactly.
Yeah.
Like, people were probably still like, hey, war's not something to joke about, guys. But then you hit like the Vietnam War, and people kind of came back to this and were like, oh my god, war is stupid.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
We
Oh, that would
we
make
do
sense.
start wars over
Yeah.
like random nonsense,
Mhm.
and it just kind of gains new life every once in a while, I guess. And there's definitely been a few pieces written about it as well, kind of looking back on it in recent years.
Yeah. It was really
So,
interesting.
yeah.
It
But, like,
definitely, I can see it being less notable at the time than
Mhm.
it is now. But yeah,
Right.
like just coincidentally, it's just aged really well
yeah.
based off of its subject matter.
Mhm.
And man, there are some jokes in there that are just like, not okay.
Yep.
But it's like
Right.
Yeah.
sort of done in this way of like, well, you know, Groucho's playing the worst person ever.
Mhm.
So like, it's not exactly like representing their views. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I think so, yeah.
But
That's
like,
just true.
It's funny because it's kind of offensive
yeah.
and
It's-
insulting to
I think it'd
people.
be super offensive because
Right.
then you roll, like, that's in the 1930s, and then later you roll into the 50s where all these laws and regulations are put out, like,
So it actually
keep
happened
media
a lot
appropriate.
sooner than
Mhm.
Oh, really?
And that's part of the other side of the interesting story about this, is that it is a pre-code movie.
Oh.
So there was so I think what would become like the MPAA regulations,
Mhm.
like I think decades later, probably in like the 50s, around that time. Oh my gosh, I think I wrote down the full name. They put too many words together when they made these things.
That makes
And
sense.
it's ridiculous. They shortened it to the Hayes Code
Okay.
because that was the guy who wrote him. But they were just like that set of very moralistic regulations on what should and should not be in movies, like what's okay. Because they're like, oh, movies can like influence people to do bad things if we don't look at things correctly in movies. So we have to monitor what's in them. And that started in like 1930, I think. But then like there was
Yeah.
a period of a few years where they couldn't really enforce it.
Hmm.
Oh,
And
I
it was
see.
very loose. And this came out in 33, and they didn't really start getting enforced until 34. So there's a lot of stuff in this movie that's like thumbing its nose at the code,
Oh,
which is why I
I
wanted
see.
to talk
I
about
was
the
gonna
thing with
say-
the horse. Because I saw, I think on just the Wikipedia article or the IMDb trivia page specifically noted that one as like part of the code was that like you couldn't show a man and woman in bed together.
Yeah.
So they're like, they show the man's shoes and the woman's shoes and the horse shoes. And then like they're all kind of in bed together.
Well, they
Or maybe
cut
they're
it-
separate beds.
When they cut to, the woman is in a separate bed,
Yeah,
and
okay,
the
that's what I was
horse and the
thinking
guy
it was.
are in the same
Right.
bed.
And it totally is just like, I guess it was just trying to make fun of that kind of rule and just being like, look,
Yeah.
Right.
it's like a guy and a horse in bed
But
together.
even the
How about
scene
that?
where he, like, sees the girl about to get in the bath
Yeah.
through the window, like, and she's kind of
It's-
undressed.
yeah,
I was like,
no,
whoa,
totally.
modesty was a huge
There's
thing, too,
that,
and
yeah.
especially in, like, the 50s.
Yeah, the
So that was
visuals and the
shocking.
jokes, there's a lot of stuff that flew in this one because it wasn't being regulated as much. That definitely probably would not have
Gotcha.
flown in
That makes
even
sense.
a year or two later. Like,
But yeah, I've always been curious why in like old movies and whatever, or like in the Dick Van Dyke Show or something, there's like two
Mhm.
separate twin beds. I was
Right.
like, is that how people? That's just how it was?
Right.
back
No,
then
they
or
just
something?
Yeah.
weren't
It was-
allowed to show you
yeah, it
two
was just
people in
this
bed.
very weird.
It's so weird. No, your art
uptight
cannot
thing.
imitate life. How dare you?
Yeah,
Inappropriate.
it was
Think
very
of the
weird.
children.
There's a very long Wikipedia article about it,
Mm.
about like all the stuff you can find in just those few years before things were enforced, and I don't know. It's kind of complicated, and there's a lot.
And
of
now
it,
we but-
Yeah.
have intimacy coordinators on set. Like,
right. Yeah, it definitely
Definitely
changed over time. Like
changed a lot.
it really was like there's all this stuff about like this weird Catholic movement behind it and kind of Catholic roots underneath the moralism of it all, and just like I don't know, just kind of just people crusading for this kind of stuff of like people are gonna see this stuff and think it's okay, like maybe even like studies about like more bad behavior popping up when movies with questionable content were going around, and like, it was weird. And now and then we kind of got out of that. Like, things got better, of course, once you had like a rating system.
All right, but
'Cause,
that
like,
was a lot
they
later.
didn't want to mess with just having like the adults only section or something. Like, they were just like, we can't deal with that right now.
Yeah,
Then like when this was new, so
that is
they didn't
interesting.
until they did. We got the MPAA, thank goodness, and we got that stratified system.
And there's still some things that are weird about it.
Yeah.
though. Like for example,
It's gotten better.
you can drop an F-bomb in a
Right.
PG-13 movie,
when
but if you
get
say one more,
one, right,
you're an R-rated movie.
it's very odd. Yeah, it's like, why draw the line?
It's
And
a
what
strange
happened
place
in
to
the
do it.
80s
Well, I mean,
as
They
far as
didn't
rating
have-
things?
Right, yeah,
they didn't have PG-13 until like
yeah. What
basically Indiana Jones.
that's what I was. Yeah, that's what it was.
So
Was it?
Oh.
it was
Was it-
Raiders, but
Oh,
it's
was it- I
basically
thought it was
Spielberg didn't want it
Temple-
to be rated
I
R.
thought it was Temple of Doom.
Maybe it was
I
Temple
think
of Doom. I
Temple
don't
of Doom,
know.
because Temple of Doom was whack.
Yeah, but I thought I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought Raiders is rated PG-13.
I feel like it's PG.
But Raiders
I
has
can
some stuff in there that's
find-
like
Yeah,
a little
totally.
risque.
Yeah, it's weird,
Yeah.
but I think. Red Dawn is coming up. Oh, Temple of Doom was PG. Yes, Red Dawn was PG-13.
Gotcha.
There you go.
So basically the idea was like, we can't get people to see our movies if they're rated R, so we got to have a rating system in between PG and R.
Yeah, you're like, well, I don't want my children to see it, but it's not bad enough to only keep for adults.
PG high schoolers.
Shrug.
Good
Yeah.
times.
Exactly.
Man, I'm glad PG-13 existed, or
Me
I would
too.
never have seen any movies ever.
This
Thank
is
goodness.
Gosh. I remember when I was first like starting to be able to watch R-rated films, and now at this point there's just like so many good indie films that are
Mhm.
just all have more than one F-bomb, so they're all rated
Right.
R. And at this point I feel like the majority of movies that I've watched are rated R.
Mm-hmm.
But like there was a long time where it's like, I saw a clip of Braveheart, and that's like
Yeah.
all of the rated R anything I've ever seen.
Not
And
that.
trying to get into a theater,
Yeah.
like don't you need somebody who's like over 21 to take you if you're not quite
If you're
17 yet?
underage, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
All of that's weird.
Sort
It's weird that you can have a driver's license, but you can't go see an R-rated movie.
of. Right.
Yeah, and you can watch whatever the heck you want on
So weird.
YouTube,
Right.
mostly.
Yeah, it's definitely not hard. There's definitely workarounds. But as far as the official screenings of things,
Right. Well, because you used to work at a movie theater,
did.
so did you ever have to like kick somebody out?
yes, kind of. I usually try to avoid that. But I was around when it happened, or I helped. I ID'd people. I turned people away.
You turned people away.
Yeah.
How did they react?
I don't know. They usually were like awkward about it.
Nice.
I didn't
Like,
really
that's
get
a
people
fake
who were
ID.
Like,
I'm
They're
not
like, "Oh,
actually
man."
15.
yeah, they're just
Really?
like, okay. Or they were, or half the time they're just like, oh, I don't have my ID. I'm like, you drove here without your ID.
That's
you
convenient.
That's
said?
disappointing on
Bill.
multiple levels. No,
I'm going to have to call the
that's
police.
what I was thinking though. We all like made fun of people who were like that. We're just like, why? How do you not have your ID? You're supposed to have that on you all the time.
Someone told me that at or wherever I worked as a server one time, and I was like IDing them for a drink, and they were like, "Oh man, I forgot it. I don't have it." I was like, "I
Yeah.
can't sell you
Nope,
anything.
can't do it.
Sorry."
Especially with alcohol, yeah. That's
Right.
a big deal.
I mean, this is probably not the
Movies, too.
best place to reveal this information, but when like people want margaritas or whatever, I rarely card them. Just
Mm.
not really, just because I don't remember, but also mostly
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, you're obviously old,
Right.
and like not like oh
I
they're
feel the same
70,
way, yeah.
but like there's this guy that comes in every once in a while who just is able to grow just enough facial hair that I'm like I don't need to see that.
Mhm.
But also, it's not hard anymore because now the
Right.
license is I don't even know why we're there, but but you know, it's
Funny
like
trick.
vertical before you're 21 and then horizontal afterwards.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's like you don't even have to check the date, which means also it's probably easier to fake because people probably aren't like checking quite as closely anymore.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, that's my thought. So
My logic is
kids, just get a fake ID so you can go see.
No.
I don't know what is there any? I guess nothing's ever coming out anymore ever. So
not right now.
so you can go see
Nothing-
On the Rocks.
well,
yeah.
I don't know if there's anything R-rated coming out right now.
Probably. I mean, Yeah, no,
Is
it's like
Unhinged rated R?
Dune is the only thing ever. What?
Is Unhinged rated R? The
Maybe?
Russell Crowe movie? Probably not.
Anyway,
Okay, yeah,
doesn't
movies.
matter.
Duck
We don't
Soup.
know.
We finally got
I know
new movies
nothing
coming
about
out.
2020 films.
I don't either.
Literally doesn't exist.
Not at
I'm
this point,
stuck in the 30s
because most
right
of them
now.
aren't 2020 movies anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we got New Mutants.
New
They hit
Mutants.
2016 film.
But they want to get like 15-year-olds in there, so
Yeah,
it's probably going to be
It's
PG-13.
good. I don't
New
know.
Mutants
womp womp.
seems like the kind of anyway.
It would be cool if they made it R-rated. It's probably not.
It probably
why I
isn't. I
don't
bet it
know.
was at one point, and then they made it
It'd
not.
be so cool.
I still don't think that movie's
It's
going to be
PG-13.
good.
It's probably not. Not after this long.
But you know what movie we know for sure is kind of good? Duck Soup.
Duck Soup is pretty good.
It was a good
But
time.
anyway, yeah, that's why there's some weird jokes in there and visuals.
The jokes
That makes
against
sense.
women
There's
were just
yeah,
like cringy.
yeah.
But
There's a lot
some
of
of them
cringy
were
stuff,
funny.
honestly.
Like they were funny in the cringy sense.
Right.
They still made me laugh and just
Like,
kind of a
I hate
whoa.
that, but that was funny.
Yeah, I'm just like, whoa, that
Mm.
existed in
Yeah.
a movie.
Oh gosh, I can't even remember. Like some of them were just like, oh, that's really not okay, and a decent amount of sexual harassment in this film.
Mhm.
Yeah, totally.
But it is not exact. It's not exactly like put in this light of they're condoning it. It's just like this is
No.
the most ridiculous thing we can possibly do.
Right. The
Yeah.
absurdity of it all.
Which it feels very
It's weird.
Python-esque. Did you have any other like people that it closely inspired?
I didn't keep a list. I remember the Monty Python stuff definitely came up. I feel like Woody Allen might have been on the list.
Wait, sorry, I don't even.
Um,
who are you talking about? I don't.
Allen, Woody.
Fuck
him.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
no.
guy.
Do not approve.
Not.
Sorry, at least I don't know. This is a natural mention of him. I think he was on the list.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
just-
have seen some of that guy's
so-
films, and yeah, I can see that.
His name is Woody, so I mean,
Yeah, it's not a. That's rough. But
Oh, no.
sucks to be that guy.
ugh. But no, Woody Allen is like Groucho's character in this, except he thinks that that's cool.
Oh
Ah!
no.
That's an excellent description, actually. Good
No.
job.
Ooh, you know what was funny too? Benito Mussolini, the Prime Minister of Italy at the time, thought this movie was about him
Huh.
Really?
and got really offended and like banned it in the country.
That's
And Marx Brothers
Kind
thought
of
that
amazing.
was really
Wait,
funny.
what was his name?
Benito Mussolini?
Calm down, dude. Not everything's
They
about
thought that
you.
was so funny though. Like that was like
that is
we
pretty great.
succeeded. Like even though like apparently when asked, like they did not like nobody intended for this movie to like mean anything. Like they're just like we just did this because it's funny. But then like that happened and they're like, yeah, cool.
I appreciated the random songs.
Yeah, that
Yes.
was funny.
It wasn't a full musical. It was
Right.
just kind of like, oh, we'll sing here. We'll have a full dance number here. I was like, yes.
But it's always like used so effectively for a
Yeah.
punchline.
Mhm.
Still, yeah, it still worked.
Like they break in the song, wait, like as an introduction for this character, and then he never shows up, and so then they just like keep repeating the last like 4 bars over and over again, waiting
Yeah.
for him to
Yeah,
show
it was
up.
so good.
It was good.
Or
Oh,
it just
it was
randomly turns into a different song
Right.
several times,
Mhm.
and everybody just follows along with it. Love it.
Beautiful.
Those are those are probably some of the best jokes in there. But I mean, the like
Yeah.
basically Abbott and Costello routine with like the
Mm.
hats.
Yeah.
I don't know if Abbott and Costello were later or
I'm not-
earlier, but
I'm not super familiar with
I would think later. But
Not sure.
that routine with like the hats and the popcorn
Mm-hmm.
is hysterical. We're just basically crying.
It was
It
pretty
was
good.
so good.
Yeah.
I like the scissors.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
That's what I was
inspired me.
thinking. Yeah,
like,
like,
I know
you-
what I want to do with my life now.
You really had
Yeah,
like
just bring around
Yeah,
totally
just
person
like chop
everywhere.
half of things off.
different extremes of comedy where you had like stuff like that, which was like, you know, he was totally silent. But
Right.
just like
I
messed
like
with
that choice
people
for
and
him.
Made horn sounds and yeah, just messed with people clownishly.
Clowning. Yeah.
Clownishly.
So
Whereas like as a contrast to Groucho's character, Rufus,
Right.
who is just like his mouth just won't stop and
Rips.
keeps making fun of people. Like,
I
he's
needed-
all verbal
Yeah.
mostly. and so like had the two sides of that.
It is really impressive that they are able to do both of them
Mm-hmm.
so effectively. Also, I guess we didn't mention this before. This is the first talkie
Yes,
that
Oh,
we are
yeah.
covering.
And it sounded great.
Yeah.
The music and yeah, it was
That's
great.
great. Yeah, they'd been doing it for a few years at this point.
Yeah.
I think.
Which is feels like
And
leaps
that's
and
like-
bounds from
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
even
I forgot
the 4
that
or
was
5
kind of
years
part of
before.
the definition of pre-code stuff. Is it's like specifically like when talkies started to be a thing,
Hmm.
but they weren't enforced.
Mm.
Oh, I
Like,
see.
they weren't censored at all.
Gotcha.
Mm.
That's that.
Interesting. But yeah, also I guess this is kind of the first like very Hollywoody kind of movie.
Mm.
It's not the first American movie. We did Buster Keaton.
Right. But that was very
That-
independent.
Yeah, it didn't really. It was filmed in Oregon. It wasn't like
Right.
very obviously on sets and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, Duck Soup is probably just like straight Hollywood film.
Yeah.
And as the first one of those, I like that it starts with this like
Mm-hmm.
grand musical number and then instantly gets ridiculous.
It's wacky.
It feels like it's
Yeah.
poking fun at something that we haven't even seen yet,
Yeah,
which is kind of
Mhm.
awesome.
it's true.
That's probably why it aged so well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, there's a little bit of truth to every joke, and this was pretty funny.
I need to write down some
So-
of his roasts.
Yeah,
'Cause
some
I
of
was like,
those,
dang, he is
some of them are really brutal.
hardcore.
Uh-huh. It really was shocking that that was in a movie in the 30s.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean,
Yeah, like having even just from what I know of like other, maybe not even movies from that time, but just of the middle of the century, it's just like saying things and seeing things here that's like, whoa,
Yeah.
they didn't do stuff like this, right?
2015
They
diss
wanted
trackers,
to.
take note.
Yes.
I enjoyed Groucho's humor with other people, where he like getting the. I also appreciated that he was short. All the
They
short
all were pretty
characters.
short.
But he would like manipulate the taller guy into calling him mean names or something so he could smack him in the face.
Right.
But then these other two little clown characters come in and they're dressing up as Groucho,
Yeah.
pulling jokes against him. So it was like this big endless cycle of
Mhm.
weird humor.
Mm-hmm.
What a trip, guys. Were they on drugs? Did they write this on?
I don't think so.
They're like, it'll be funny.
They didn't even write it. Or they
That's-
did some of the gags, but like the script and writing was like other people, I think.
Really,
And then they added random gags.
Yes.
that makes it very
There's-
Hollywood.
There's some parts of
Yeah.
it that, I forgot to mention this earlier. When they were like looking into what to do after their 5th movie, but like before this was actually made, they had looked into like stage productions and like a radio show. Like 2 of them were doing like a radio show.
That's
And
weird.
they pulled some jokes from the radio show into this movie.
Mm.
And so like some of the guys who like wrote for the radio show are credited with like additional writing or something.
Gotcha. That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, but I guess like so far everything we've covered is pretty much like writer director kind of stuff, and so this is the
Right.
first thing that's not like almost straight auteur cinema.
No, yeah. I don't know if the director of this did anything similar. I wasn't really familiar with his other movies, and I didn't dig too deeply. I probably should have looked at that more, but he seems like he was pretty notable though still at the time.
You make a mockery of this pod.
Leo, I'm sorry. I was so tired.
Do you
We're all
know-
tired.
I was
Yeah,
I was
so
finishing
tired.
this, but
Do you
like,
know
I don't
if he did, if the director was involved in all that theater, or was that kind of all this Marx
think
Brothers thing?
Mm,
Because it was so
right.
so
I feel
theater.
like maybe he was. I'm sorry. I'm so like all over the place. on
You
this.
good, my
Like,
dude.
Blah.
Blah.
But Lord, who is Leo McCarey?
We need naps.
Leo. What'd you do?
Please,
Film director,
Please.
screenwriter.
if you want to
And
pay for our naps,
Pay us
you
to
go to the
Side plug.
Patreon account that might exist by now. And
Please
we'll do
subscribe
it.
to our
We could do an
Patreon that
ASMR.
doesn't exist in the middle of the night, roughly somewhere U.S. time,
Mm-hmm.
and you will help us make money in our sleep.
This is
Exactly.
true.
I'll appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Sponsor us
Please.
to sleep.
Oh yeah,
We
And
would love
we-
to
I was
make
totally
you an
wrong.
ASMR
I
podcast.
lied
We'll
to you
help
about
you
Leo
sleep.
McCarey. Focusing mainly on screwball comedies during the 30s, turned towards more socially conscious and overtly religious movies during the 40s, and found success in both
Overtly
genres.
religious movies
Says
from this guy?
Wikipedia.
What?
Huh.
That's what Wikipedia says. Sorry,
Weird.
I'm referencing Wikipedia live on podcast.
Right, because I mean, let's be honest, Duck Soup definitely had some religious undertones. You know, I think we were all picking up on that.
Oh
but
yeah.
Yes.
we were just waiting for him to like get like really spiritual with us, just like bring out the full Terrence Malick.
Yes, totally.
Yeah,
Do you know what the budget was? Because they had like
I
a
tried.
huge variety of
I tried to
scenes.
find it. I couldn't find it after just a quick search. It's not listed in the obvious places.
It doesn't look like it. Well, if it was their fifth, it probably did have a decent sized budget.
But if it's more of a studio movie,
Right.
rather than indie films.
Frantically Googling.
Google.
Awkwardly.
It's okay.
We're trying to not.
You know, we're just gonna
fall
try to
asleep.
not.
We need coffee.
Gonna nod
Insert
off.
Energy drinks.
Modem
Not because of
noises.
the movie.
Right.
Here.
No, that had me so awake that
Yes.
now I'm more tired.
Now I need to
No,
recover
I'm feeling
from laughing.
kind of dead. But yeah.
This makes for really good content. Us just being like, just so you know, guys, like we're tired.
We're
and,
exhausted.
I'm sleepy. And
I tried to finish writing notes down about this late last night and then watched Joan of Arc, which I told you already. But I'm saying it again for the listeners. I was up too late. That's the point.
You know what it kind of reminded me of?
No.
Like the apple dumpling gang.
Oh,
Just a
Yeah.
little, like in some of the comedy bits, but that came out in the 70s.
right.
So it's like we just never really quit
No,
using these gags.
yeah. As far as like the quality of the film itself, it's not like it is a massive standout in like production design and score and whatever technical aspects. But as far as just like the pure comedy of what's going on, it feels just so deeply influential in the American sense of
So
humor
timeless, yeah.
that it's just has been repeated kind of forever and seems like it will be continually repeated forever.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's still kind of like just as funny, if not more funny to us now, even in the age of memes, says something about that,
True.
you know?
Yeah.
It just
informed a
just
lot of
works.
things moving forward.
yeah.
Definitely, like, yeah. I mean, they were some of the most popular at the time and influential comedians. So.
Mhm.
Still
And I
talk
mean,
about
like,
these guys.
You know, we've seen those jokes before done
Right.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know what's going to
Yeah.
happen,
Mm-hmm.
but it still works just as well.
It's still funny, yeah.
Yeah. I was really looking forward to, maybe it was in Animal Crackers that like I shot an elephant in my pajamas. What the elephant was doing in my pajamas, I'll never know bit. I think that's a Groucho line.
Probably.
I thought that was in this one, but maybe it isn't. And maybe it's not a Groucho line at all, and I'm totally wrong. Who knows?
Liar.
Unfortunately.
Who in the hell knows? But I was pretty sure. I remembered it being in this movie because I watched it. Oh gosh, probably last time I saw it was 15 years ago.
Whoa.
You're not even that old.
I would not.
Hey, don't call me out like that.
I would not show
I'm
this
just
to
kidding.
someone that young.
I am a
I
small
don't
child.
Reese is either 8 years old or like,
70.
yeah, I was going to say
Whoa.
like 73. I really can't tell sometimes.
I feel like I kind of strike a balance, you know, maybe somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, like a
Yeah.
childish old soul. That's how I identify.
Childish old soul.
Yes.
I like that. I see that. That
Nice.
fits.
It's the ideal,
Mhm.
I guess.
Yeah,
So-
exactly.
Oh, Abbott and Costello were like a comedy team of the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
So definitely Marx Brothers influenced that because I was watching those bits and I'm like, oh yeah, you mean the Abbott and Costello bit that
Right.
I was forced to see all the
Very
time.
similar.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But-
stuff.
Good times. Anyway,
Indeed.
Anyway.
so like
Some-
there's a direct line from like Keaton and Marx Brothers to like stuff that we got now. And apparently vaudeville is like
Yeah.
the great grandpappy of our sense of
I guess
humor.
So
The great
yeah,
green pappy.
just variety stage shows.
I really
Get
wish
it, they'd
those
be funny.
sorts of things still
No.
existed.
Yeah, not really anymore.
But, you know, even if they did, they don't now. Like, even if they existed 6 to 8 months ago, they don't
Right.
now.
Definitely not now.
So, we're out of luck.
If you're listening to this in the future, this is from 2020, Corona time. Hopefully
Corona.
things are better.
Corona time,
Corona
USA.
time.
Most likely not. And this, if anything, you're probably listening to it around when it's coming out, so you know.
Coronavirus.
I mean, it is evergreen
It
content,
is, hopefully,
you know?
yeah.
Because, you know, us being tired for 35 minutes is, you know, that lasts forever.
Indeed.
It's always as effective as it was the day that we released. And really, that's the point. That's what we're trying to succeed in doing here is making content just as iconic and just as capable of standing the test of time as all of the films we're talking about. And so that's why we put a heavy focus into how we're currently doing at the moment of recording, and
Yes.
the fact that we are
Right.
recording several of these at the same time.
And that we're
Because-
sleepy.
Yeah, because that just really emphasizes how timeless all of this is.
Shout us out in the comments if you are listening to this 80 years in the future.
Whoa.
Oh, yes. Give me a hate tweet then. I'll take it.
Yes.
You probably will take it.
I will.
Because you'll be dead.
Yeah, I won't have a choice.
Cyberlink.
I'll just
Wait,
take it.
How old would you be? You'd be 100.
In 80 years,
True.
I will be
Yeah.
101.
Dang.
I'm an oldie. Time
Wow.
flies when you're having fun.
You
Well-
think, so you already know the next 80 years are going to be all good things?
I mean, as long as it's better than 2020.
Yeah. which
Hopefully.
I guess is not hard, but
The
we'll
bar is
see
pretty
if
low.
2021 kicks our ass. It's sad because everything that was on the slate for 2020 was going to be rad.
Oh, yeah, it's
And
gonna be a
then
good year.
you think all of that's going to get pushed to 2021, and it might, but it's not like we're also getting the 2021 stuff.
Right.
And if we do, then it's the best year of all time.
It's true. Crank 'em
In
out.
comparison, 2021 could be the best year of all time. There's a few things that can change here in the last few months of 2020 that can make 2021 feel like a pretty great year in comparison.
Let's manifest it.
I'm begging
2021
you
will
for
be
a
the
Dune
year.
trailer.
Specifically,
Begging you.
Dune.
we really
Timothy!
need Dune to be good
Please.
and perform well enough that the sequel actually gets made, for sure.
Yes.
And
Right.
on top of that, Mike Mills needs to
Yes.
finally come
True.
out with that freaking movie. His new movie stars Joaquin Phoenix.
Gasp.
Oh man, such excite.
But Timothy Chalamet.
And everyone else.
That's a good point.
Like, he's no
Jason
Ryan
Momoa.
Gosling, but like
He's you did it.
effortlessly.
it.
It's easy now. It's like a second language for me.
Aw.
You just in your sleep, you're just like Ryan Gosling.
I'm like, Ryan Gosling. Huh? What? Ryan?
Sorry.
Gosling? What? Is that what you said?
Sorry,
Yeah.
I was talking about Ryan Johnson.
Gosling?
What's that guy up to?
Ryan Johnson.
Whoa.
Ryan Johnson
Ah.
Reynolds.
Reynolds, yes.
It's a lot of people.
John
Imagine
Krasinski?
the Ryan movie directed by Ryan Johnson, starring Ryan Gosling and Ryan Reynolds.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I would survive that movie.
Could be pretty good.
My heart
With
would
music
just
by
burst.
Ryan Tedder.
Oh my gosh, I would explode.
No.
Like if I wasn't like married to one of them by the end of the movie, I would just combust.
Yes, each audience member gets to marry one of them by the end of the film. It's a choose your own adventure film.
Whoa.
I would marry
know,
Ryan Johnson.
I know who I would choose. I know which adventure I'll choose.
Hunter, which Ryan would you choose? You have two options because we took the other two.
Wait,
Which Ryan would you marry?
which ones did you guys take? I'm sorry.
I
You took Johnson probably.
yeah.
Hannah probably took Gosling.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Haven will take Ryan
I
Tedder.
don't care about Ryan Tedder, so I guess it's Reynolds.
Dang. I'm imagining you and Ryan Reynolds being in a long and fulfilling
Okay with
relationship.
him.
I think
I'm not
that's
like a
an
huge
excellent
fan, but
choice.
he's all right.
Yeah, I think
He
that's
was
why
Deadpool.
he'd like you.
I think that
He'd
you
be
guys
like-
would be funny.
We can tolerate each other.
Right. I think that's all you really need
I'll
for
see
a
his movies
marriage.
and be like,
that's
"That
what
was
I've
good."
seen modeled for a marriage. So
This is true.
just tolerating each other as much as you can, and if not,
long
then
as
maybe go on vacation, go to a hotel for a few days.
He's pretty
know.
wealthy. You'll be fine.
It's true.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
think he does
I think he's
okay.
taken though.
And worst case scenario, if you guys were to happen to split up, you'll probably get a decent amount of money from that exchange. So
Ooh, that's the way to go.
But wait, I followed him.
You just have
He,
to
ma- he met a married woman.
replace Blake
I think
Lively.
it was his wife.
uh-huh.
Oops.
Whoops.
Hunter, you're prettier than Blake Lively. And
You
that's just
are.
facts.
Like I know you guys
I mean-
can't see him because of the pod. You know, we haven't filmed them yet, but Hunter is a very, very beautiful man.
Beautiful man. Like Blake
I
Lively.
don't believe you.
Should be scared.
It's
I have to
okay.
steal your man.
It's okay.
Mm.
Mm.
Blake Lively can keep him.
No.
They can
No, she
act
can't.
in stuff, but never together.
Yeah, that is weird.
Have they been in something together? I don't know. Anyway,
That was.
We've been
I
here
feel
for
like
like 40 minutes
did we
now.
exercise all of our duck soupness?
I think so. I'm
Yeah.
sorry I didn't have as much to say on this one as perhaps on some, but a little bit of a shorter episode than last time. But it's all good. It's been a long day of recording.
Has indeed.
Not that we
Yes.
bank episodes.
What? We would never do that.
Maybe I
Recording
will.
other things.
That's
Anyway.
terrible. Just the thought of that really is disgusting. But we can wrap it up here. I think we've plugged some of the things.
I think so.
We'll put the things we
movieoverloadpod.com.
didn't already plug in the description.
Yar.
Yay.
And as we say here at the end of every episode of the Movie Overload podcast.
This movie gave me another out for the silent option, thankfully. No. Damn it. I always forget to pick out a line
wait.
when I watch the movie.
There was one, and now I was like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
going to remember that, and I forgot it.
I'll
It
set
was-
you up. I'll set you up for
set
it.
me up.
And as we say here at the end of every episode of the Movie Overload podcast.
Hey, hon, why don't you come on over and don't forget to bring some cheese?
Yeah.
It was something like that, and I was like, oh, yes, I'm going to use that as a pickup
There
line.
you go.
Bring me cheese.
I like that.
That was wonderful.
That is perfect. Dating advice 101.
Cheese.
Bring cheese.
And help him clean up the crackers in his bed.
Love
maybe.
of my life.
Oh, right, yeah.
Love
He got all
language.
those
He's gotta-
crackers in
he's
his
gotta
bed.
do it
'cause he
himself,
was just
otherwise.
sitting there
Yes.
eating the soda crackers.
Nibbling crackers.
And we need cheese.
Which I really vibe with.
It was great.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
cool. See you guys.
Yep.
Bye.
Good stuff. Bye.